Happy Hanukkah, day number 2. One of the most famous Hanukkah photos is the picture that was taken in 1931 in Kiel, Germany. Rabbi Akiva Posner and his wife Rachel set up the menorah on Friday afternoon, the 7th night of Hanukkah, to light the menorah before Shabbat began. And then she noticed that right outside her window, in the building facing her window, was the headquarters of the Nazi party in Kiel, Germany. And there, facing her menorah lit with the 7 candles, was the German flag containing the swastika. She quickly grabbed her camera before Shabbat and took a photo of the lights of the menorah opposite, facing the Nazi flag. Later, when she developed the photo, she wrote on the back of the picture, "The flag says, 'Death to the Jews,' but the menorah responds to the flag, 'The Jewish people will live forever.'" This holiday of Hanukkah began on night number 1 with the first candle. And the question that the rabbis ask is, we understand the miracle on night number 2, 3, up until 8, when the flame continued to burn miraculously. But what is the miracle of the first night of Hanukkah? After all, they did find enough oil for night number 1. And one of the many answers given to this question is that on the first night of Hanukkah was celebrating the fact that the Maccabees searched and found the first cruse of oil. The miracle is that they still were yearning to light the menorah despite all the years of struggle and battle. Now when they returned to the temple, they wasted no time in their desire to rekindle the flames of the menorah. And this is indeed the story of Hanukkah. The story of Hanukkah is the flame which represents Judaism and the soul of the Jew, which continues to burn brightly and never loses its capacity and its desire to connect with God and with the Torah throughout all the ages and all the millenniums. Despite all the darkness around us, it continues to burn brightly and is never extinguished. Rabbi Meir Soloveitchik, in a new article that he just penned, quotes Winston Churchill, who in 1921 made a trip to the Middle East and followed the same route of Moses, going from Egypt through the Sinai desert and arriving in Israel, unlike Moses. And he says that he stopped in Gaza, his first stop, and he was greeted by cheering crowds who were yelling, "Down with the Jews, cut their throats." And when he came to Israel, he experienced what Moses did not merit to experience, arriving in the Promised Land. 10 years later, Winston Churchill wrote his biography about that experience. And it's the only biblical essay he wrote. And he talks about his experience of following the footsteps of Moses. And he talks about the burning bush that Moses encounters. And Winston Churchill interprets it and says, the burning bush is not just the bush. The burning bush is metaphoric of the burning heart of Moses that refused to be consumed no matter what. And this burning bush represents the soul of every Jew that burns brightly despite all the darkness around it that tries to consume the flame of the soul of the Jew and the flame of Judaism. The Jewish soul and the Jewish heart never stops burning brightly. Its capacity to always desire to create light in the midst of darkness is the first image that God shows Moses as a leader. And then 1,000 years later, the miracle of Hanukkah once again represents that miracle of the flame that refuses to die, the flame that never stops burning brightly, the yearning of the Jewish soul to transform the world from darkness to light. And no matter how much evil and darkness is thrown at the Jew, continues to be a bright light. Akiva Posner, Rabbi Akiva Posner, and Rachel have a great-grandson who merited to live in Israel. And in 2009, he lit the very same menorah that he inherited from his great-grandfather and grandmother, the one that was lit in Kiel, Germany in 1931. And he took out the photo of his grandmother and put it alongside the menorah. But now he was in Israel. And when he set up his menorah, it was facing a building outside that contained not a Nazi flag, but an Israeli flag. And he put on his IDF uniform because he served as a soldier in the IDF. And he saluted the menorah. And as he kindled the menorah, he said the blessings. And then he said, in Hebrew, not in German, I salute the menorah, which stands opposite the flag of the state of Israel, proclaiming loud and clear what my grandmother said, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people will live forever. Shabbat Shalom and Happy Hanukkah.